is, and I told Kara when I read this, the best, most optimistic news I could have possibly read about my Broncos
Okay.
when I heard that John Elway is stepping down as general manager.
Oh, I didn't hear this.
I heard that, but I haven't
Well,
heard like the other thing.
well, well, he's stepping down as general manager, but he's basically promoting himself to, well, he's retaining the higher job of president of football operations,
Okay.
which is, I'm fine with that. Like, some people are like, he's just trying to like dodge blame for like the past 5 years. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I think it's a great thing because he's letting someone else come in and actually make the decisions about the draft and the roster and everything that we definitely need a fresh set of eyes and a new mind on. So I'm actually optimistic in that regard for my Broncos, even though we lost to the Raiders by 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good news.
The future is looking brighter than the last couple of years for the Broncos.
Yes.
I mean,
The
you can't
past,
complain too much. I mean, that as a GM, he did win a Super Bowl. That's more than a lot of teams can say about their GMs. But
he
and it's
did.
good that he recognizes like, hey, I'm not the solution anymore.
Yeah.
So
And I give Elway a lot of credit for realizing that and like kind of being humble enough to say like, look,
yeah,
I think we need someone else to take that. I think that's actually a pretty big deal for him to do that because I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's not like he's stepping down or retiring or anything,
mm-hmm.
which would be something else, but it's
Right.
definitely a big move. And so I I'm happy about it. But we're not in the playoffs, but neither are the Cowboys.
Neither are the Cowboys, and they never were going to.
Oh my gosh. We've got to talk about this, and it's a great way to start off the show.
Absolutely.
And look, I'm kind of like last week, Austin made a claim that didn't go down as being bold, but is challengeable now. And he said the Eagles are obviously going to try to win the game. They're going to
Yeah.
play hard.
Yeah.
Did they try to
Here's
win
the
the
thing.
game?
They didn't, but here's the thing that makes me not as wrong as it would seem is like every other team did try that were out. Like the
Yeah,
Texans tried to beat the Titans and they'd have no reason to.
sure.
And they didn't have the draft pick. Well, I guess that's another reason. I mean, like their draft pick's the Dolphins, but there are lots of teams that were out that did try. Like the Chargers beat the Chiefs starting their starters for no reason, and so I mean, it's not. The Eagles were the only team in the league that didn't. So.
Well, that's the thing you didn't consider, though. Like, the other teams aren't the Eagles deciding the fate of either the Cowboys or the Giants.
Well, do you think that the Eagles did it out of spite? Because
I,
I don't get that impression at all.
I think it's a factor. I think if, here's what I'll say. I think there's a lot of factors going in, and if you take any of them out, I think they don't. Doug Peterson doesn't make the stupid decision of benching his new starting quarterback in favor of a third string what's his name, dude? And when they need to come back and win the game. And
Okay.
yeah, and hold your thoughts. The factors
Okay.
are, one of them, I'm going to say, is the fact that if they win, they let the New York Giants, and I honestly think if it was the Dallas Cowboys, they would have the same exact motivation.
Sure.
I think this might not be straight up fact, but to me, I think they hate the Cowboys and the Giants more than they hate the Washington football team. Like, I'm just gonna say that as an observation here. I think they do.
I'm not going to argue that point.
Okay.
That's fair.
Wait,
But that's only 1 point though.
Wait.
I know that's one point. But if you said at the beginning like it's a factor, and if one factor was not in it, they might not make that decision. I think if if it doesn't matter what, like the Cowboys Giants don't make it no matter what, I still think they would have put Sudfeld in or whatever his name is.
So I guess I gotta. All right, hold on. Let me just get mine out so I can at least say them, and then I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
The other factor is, a slightly better draft pick, but that's a pretty stupid reason because they went up like a couple spots. They're not gonna. I mean, it's not
Right.
like they're going to get Trevor Lawrence
Yeah.
because they lost the game or anything like
Mhm.
that.
Yes.
Honestly, the only other reason I could think of is they're not sold on Jalen Hurts, and they actually do want to see what else they have because they're not decided that he's the quarterback of the future. But besides those reasons, what reasons do you have to make that decision? Is my question to you specifically, Austin. Like,
Well,
why?
I don't think it has to do with letting the Cowboys in, the Giants in, or anything like that. The reason would be, I think it's an upstairs move. I don't think it was actually even Doug Peterson's decision to do that. And I know, like, the draft position is the only consideration. I think. I don't think it was really an audition for the quarterback either. I think the sole purpose was seriously just move up 3 spots. I don't think it had anything to do with not letting the Giants in. I mean, it could be, and the only factor I could see is like we'd rather let a 7-9 team in than a 6-10 team. But I don't see the rivalry being the reason in this case. In this case, I didn't get that impression during the game or after the game that was a reason.
I guess what I'm saying is I think you're right, whereas if there's any conversation going on with Doug Peterson and the ownership or any other, management on the team, I'm sure they're saying, look, we want to get this spot. They can't just say like one reason, like just tank the game because we want 3 spots. I mean, I feel like at that point they're like, are you serious? Like, what about like the integrity of the game? What about making us look like idiots? And so they have to say something like, we want to move up 3 spots. It would be good to see what else we have on our roster. Plus, it could keep the Giants out. When they have to package it. Otherwise, it sounds stupid.
Well, I'd buy that if that's what they said, but they didn't. They said they're playing to win. Doug Peterson said they're playing to win after the game.
Never say that to the media. You cannot say that. You can't even say you're doing it for draft picks because you flat out cannot say you're trying to lose in this league.
I know, but I seriously letting the Giants not making the playoffs is an afterthought compared to going and just moving up a couple spots. Maybe there's a guy they like at 6 that they think will be there at 6. I don't know, but I find it hard to believe that the reason they threw, and I know I was arguing the other way, but I find it hard to believe, just having seen the game and how much I don't know, that was the sole reason. Or not the sole reason, but a reason. I think that would have to be an afterthought.
Whatever the reason is, look, like, it was stupid. It was really dumb. Like, I feel like that was maybe the most obvious and stupid way to tank a game is to take out your best quarterback. Like, I don't know how you can kind of like broadcast it or make it, or even if for some reason they actually are trying to win the game and that's not them tanking, it really looks like you're trying to lose the game when you take your best quarterback out and replace him with someone who he's not going to come in and win you the game. That's just not a realistic expectation.
If they wanted to win the game, and this sounds crazy, but it'd make more sense to put Carson Wentz in and say, like, hey, we'll win this last drive. Let's see if you're worth the money. Can you, in the 4th quarter, take the game? And they didn't put Carson Wentz in. That was a more important audition than their 3rd quarterback. So, I mean, yeah, it was obvious that they're trying to lose. So, but, yeah, I think that it's purely for that position.
Can you just imagine? And I did hear Doug Peterson say this was a pre-game plan was to get this kid in the game. But let's take the other approach and say, like we're kind of talking about, they're actually making a move like in the heat of the game to win it. And they're like, we need to make a change. We need a spark. They look over at the quarterback bench. They see their starting quarterback, Jalen Hurts. They see Carson Wentz. Then they see, like, basically the water boy.
Like, he was probably sitting there picking his nose.
Carson Wentz is sitting there like, I'm ready. Like, I'll prove myself. They're like, nah, how about that guy? That guy is shot. That's what it feels like, doesn't it?
Well, here's one thing: is Doug Peterson after the game also told the media that I can't even remember the guy's name. Does anybody actually know what the guy's name is?
It's like Sudfeld or Sunfield.
Yeah,
Sudfeld?
Like Nate or something?
Either way, he said that he had earned those minutes. He earned them in practice, or yeah. So there's that, but it's not just the fact that they switched the quarterback. Did you see the plays they were calling with the quarterback in? I mean, the last play of the game. There's like 6 seconds left. They're down by 8? Is that what it was?
Yeah, don't test me.
They're up by 6? Or no, they're down by 6.
Yeah, they're down by 6.
It was 20 to 14.
Yeah. So they're down by 6. It's a one-score game. There's 6 seconds left. Why would you not throw a Hail Mary? If you're playing to win, you throw into the end zone. No.
Yeah, you do.
The play was like an 8-yard, pitch it down the middle. It was nothing. And the plays before that we're not going for gains. We're just going to complete a pass. It was not. I think that's the more as stupid as taking Jalen Hurts out and putting in the third string quarterback, but then just saying all right, just go. Let's run it here and we'll do a little pitch pass here. I mean, they were obviously not playing to win, and I would understand if they were down by 2 scores or 9 points and above, because it's all right, you have 6 seconds. It's obviously not going to happen. If they just went and scored a touchdown, they would have tied and won with a point after. And they did not. They didn't even get a first down with their pass. It was completed. Wasn't even a first down.
Exactly. And the other side of this is okay, let's say they did this on purpose, primarily to move up 3 draft picks. I mean, think about the negative aspects of what they did. First of all, there's all kinds of reports that Eagles players are pissed off. Apparently, 2 players tried to physically fight with Doug Peterson when he made the decision and had to be restrained or something. And I'm sure lots more players are pissed, including, and most importantly, I'm sure Jalen Hurts is pissed off that they took the game out of his hands.
We haven't even gotten to the fact that, dude, this is your brand new starting quarterback that's a rookie, and you're going to bench him?
You just burned bridges with your last starting quarterback.
Exactly. And and he could have won the game. It's the last game of the season. Let's end on a high note. You've got this. We believe in you. No. We're going to bench you for a third string quarterback.
Yeah. They could have gone, like you said, they could have gone out into the offseason with, if they'd won the game, they would have known they knocked out a division rival out of the playoffs by a strong last game week 17 win. And besides that, obviously they have the scrutiny of the entire NFL community, Giants fans, players, coach, manager, all coming out and being pretty vocal on Twitter and other places about how they're really not happy about it. And the worst part is it was prime time. It was the last regular season game of the year. They choose to pull that crap. It was just
yeah.
stupid on
Well,
a lot of levels.
the person who should be most pissed is Roger Goodell for flexing that game out and be like, "Hey, we're prime time. We expect you to try." If they had just said, "Hey, we're planning on playing our third string quarterback from the start, and we won't play some of our starters," some of the starters wouldn't even be mad because it's like, okay, I get it. But now they played their butts off trying to win, risking their health for a game that they had never intended to win. And so that's where it's a bad decision mostly is okay, it's one thing to lose to gain up the draft picks, but another thing to piss off the locker room, piss off the commissioner of the NFL,
Yeah.
piss off the TV networks.
Yeah.
I'm
Piss
sure
off
Steve
everyone.
too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even worse, it kind of came after that whole JJ monologue about like
Uh-huh.
the integrity of the game and like if you can't put in that effort, you don't deserve this job. Like kind of circulated through the football world. So it was like the perfect storm and worst time to do that, and it just looked bad. I think it's a dumb move, and that's how you start to lose a locker room for sure if you're Doug Peterson. And we could see what happens if another disappointing year next year. I could definitely see him out the door in Philadelphia for sure.
Yeah. I think, for a long time, I can't remember a worse move by an organization. And you can think of some terrible moves like Texans trading DeAndre Hopkins. There's things like that, but nothing compares to blatantly trying to lose. Like that just stoops you down to a whole new level as far as disrespect.
Yeah, think about the Chargers. Like Anthony Lynn had to know that he was fired no matter what the next day. But they put up a game plan, and sure, it was the Chiefs' backups, but still, like the Chargers, Justin Herbert has confidence. They went out with a W against the number one seed. It's still they didn't play the starters, but still, they lost draft capital because they won, but the locker room is united. They feel really good about Justin Herbert, and so, because the Chargers had nothing to play for, and they weren't knocking off anybody for winning that game. So, it's pretty bad. I'd rather watch that game on prime time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And here's one thing though too, it is kind of amusing to see all the Giants fans so pissed off, but it's like, it's not like you guys deserved to be in the playoffs. Like a 6-10 team, like, dude, I can't believe you lost, and now we didn't get into the playoffs because of you. It's just like,
another division, they don't have a chance. So.
Yeah,
exactly. The coach, he kind of went on about it. He was pissed off, but at least he said like, look, it's not the Eagles or anyone's fault. Like we had 16 chances to get into the playoffs, so leaving it in anyone's hands besides ours was on us. But
absolutely.
Talking about the coaches, before we obviously get going into the playoff talk, I feel like we need to kind of like round out everything else because everything after that going forward is going to be about the playoffs. So we need to get everything else done in. And there's 6 head coaching job positions available. We already had the Falcons available as well as Detroit and the Texans.
Yep.
Those have been open lots of the way through the season. But we added the Jets. Finally.
About time.
It was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. The Jaguars, which is also kind of a given when you fall that far, and then the Chargers, which Austin has been calling. In particular, Austin's been calling for Anthony Lynn down from there for a while. So I don't feel like there's any shockers amongst these teams. They all seem like, that sounds about right. Is there any teams you're surprised didn't fire their head coach?
No, not really. I think
I think it's weird that the Browns aren't a part of this conversation, but I guess that's a good thing. Usually,
Well, I mean, they're going to the playoffs. So
Yeah.
they
What do you
gotta have
mean?
No, I'm saying usually every year it's like the Browns are on the list for a new coach.
Week 17's over.
Yeah,
done,
it is
next,
weird.
new coach. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're in the postseason. What?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I guess I agree with you. There's not really many others.
Because a lot of them haven't been coaching there long.
Yeah,
Like Cliff
exactly.
Kingsbury deserves another year.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan's been dealing with some weird stuff. He's fine.
I think, though, Cliff Kingsbury has raised a couple eyebrows with how the Cardinals have kind of fallen off in the second half of the season. I definitely don't think he should have been fired, but I think going into next year, it's kind of expected that he's going to need to do more with everything he has in Arizona than what happened.
And honestly, I feel like a lot of it is just the division he's in. I think there's like an added pressure to NFC West coaches and organizations just because it is so competitive. Like you can be a good, like Arizona is a good team. They have a chance of beating any other team any other week. But there's two teams that are even better than them in their division, where it's not a bad thing, but obviously it's very apparent if the Cardinals were in a different NFC division, they would definitely be in the playoffs. So there's just, I think with that, having a new or younger coach in the NFC West right now, you got to be patient because it's definitely an uphill battle in that sense.
Exactly. And then really the only coaches when you look at it that potentially could be but aren't, Doug Pearson, I feel like the Eagles did a good job of saying this year is Carson Wentz's fault. Like, it's because he sucks. Because if they didn't have Carson Wentz as a scapegoat, I think Doug Peterson would be on the hot seat right now because since the Super Bowl, they've had a tough time ever since then.
Seriously, ever since, that's the last game they won. I mean, not really, but, the last game they won as a dominant team.
I know the feeling. I know what it's like to go out in the Super Bowl and that's all you got. But, and then, you got teams lots of Cowboys fans, including Austin, aren't happy with Mike McCarthy. But I think you and lots of people realize he's probably not getting fired after year one and maybe he shouldn't be.
Realistically, no. I mean, I don't.
Defensive coordinator was fired, right?
That's why I want to fire him. But I mean, if he would have won the Giants game and finished 7-9 with no preseason, and after all the crazy crud of releasing a bunch of guys and Dak going down, and still finishing 7-9, that's pretty respectable. 6-10 though, I'm like, all right, you got one more year, man.
Wasn't that defensive coordinator the Cowboys fired? Am I wrong?
They haven't fired. Oh, did they fire the defense coordinator? I didn't see.
I don't know. So many people were fired this week.
Exactly.
That might be. I didn't see that, but that could be.
Man, yeah, I felt like I saw that headline come through, Thomas, but now I'm second guessing myself.
I have the Cowboys app, and it should have told me right away. I shouldn't have had to even research it, but whatever. So.
Yeah. Yep, he was fired.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's all I can ask for.
Yeah. Man, that's the story of the Cowboys defense is the really weird one to me. You guys were so dominant last year. It was really strange to see you guys fall so far in that regard.
Yeah. It was a scheme. I know a lot of Cowboys fans because I follow a lot of Cowboys pages and really don't like the secondary. But it's not the worst. I mean, they played the worst. But I think if they were coached better and better schemed, I think in better positions to make plays, I think it wouldn't have been as bad as it looked this year. So I'm excited to see who they hire. It'll be interesting. Can't be any worse than blast and rushing defense. So,
yeah.
So, Mike McCarthy, I think, was gonna no matter what happened, keep his job. And it's hard for the Eagles to fire Doug Peterson because he won a Super Bowl as their head coach, their only Super Bowl they've ever had. So how do you fire a guy like that when you're the Eagles
Yeah.
and have been the laughing stock of the NFC East for so long?
One more disappointing year, and I'm telling you, the NFL is a short-term memory, and Eagles fans will be chasing Doug Peterson out of Philadelphia.
Sure.
If they have
No, I
another
agree.
year.
I think there's one more year for him. And I thought it, even in their Super Bowl run, that Frank Reich, their offensive coordinator, when he was their offensive coordinator, was the real reason they were as dominant as they were.
Absolutely.
And it's showing.
Definitely. Well, let's kind of talk about last week. We were going through what could end up happening, who gets in the playoffs as far as those teams that were kind of on the bubble. Start with the NFC, and
So when is Thomas getting his root beer float?
that's
Yeah.
whenever you want it, man. Just hit me up. We'll go right on down to Red Robin, and we'll go right in, get you a bottomless root beer flow. It'll be great. You know, I'm happy for you. I really am.
You're happy for me.
I'm so happy that, you know what, I hope the Rams actually are so much better than I thought, that they just whoop your Seahawks this weekend and knock you guys out in the super wildcard weekend. That's how happy I am.
Well, honestly, I'm kind of nervous. You know, Jared Goff, you know what you're getting. Like, you know they're not going to win off the quarterback. This new guy, I mean, he's nothing special, but you never know with, like, you know, like new players, Cinderella story, you know, playoff game. Like, I really hope this guy sucks. Cause
Right. He could either be Tom Brady or Ben DiNucci.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Off the bench. So
exactly.
Let's get to the matchups a little bit later, but as far as like what happened, so yeah, the Packers they took care of business against the Bears, which I think last week we thought there was a chance that they wouldn't play their starters. I think I had sworn that they had clinched the number 1 seed, but it was obvious later that they could have lost that number 1 seed, so it makes sense that they played Aaron, they played everyone, and yeah, in that situation, I like the Packers there. And then yeah, the story of the Rams versus the Cardinals. Aside from the Cardinals falling a lot of games in the second half of the season, Kyler also went out at the end of this game. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's just how it goes. The Rams get in. I don't know. I don't know what I think of the Rams team now, especially since it's a mystery whether Jared Goff is in or not. But I mean, were you guys surprised by the outcome of either of those two games?
I mean, with the Packers starting their players, that was a surprise.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that the Cardinals only scored 7 points. I mean,
yeah,
I'm telling you,
that was a bad showing.
Kyler is faltering under the pressure. He's not as good when he's under pressure, and it's slowly weighing him down.
Man, I just don't know if that's it, man. I mean, after I saw that Hail Mary on the Bills, I don't know how the pressure gets more than that. Something's a problem in Arizona. I do think, like I've said, it seems to me that a trajectory really turned after that Seahawks game when his shoulder was bugging him, and it seems like he's either, I don't know if it's been the actual injury or just kind of losing comfort or something along those lines.
Something weird, because his production is like that from that game on is just a couple plateaus lower than it was the rest of the, the first half of the season.
Definitely. But coming over to the AFC, obviously we have a ton more factors than the NFC with all those teams, including, the Titans, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Ravens, and the Browns all having a shot.
Can you guys believe it? Of all those teams, I thought the Dolphins would make it. I think we were all wrong, right? Last week when we talked about it, didn't we? None of us.
Our official predictions were all wrong.
Yeah.
Then when I heard that the Steelers weren't going to play their starters, I was like, oh, the Dolphins could miss out. But that wasn't my
Yeah.
official pick. So I
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight's 2020, and
Yeah.
I think none of us, at least on last week's show, thought it was. I think we thought it was a very high chance that they would fall to the Bills. The Bills are red hot. I didn't see them falling in such dramatic fashion with the Bills putting over 50 points on them.
Yeah.
Over, I think, doubling their score or more. Like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty shocking.
That was domination. That was a statement win. A win by 30.
That's.
And the Dolphins were trying to win. They were trying to make the playoffs.
So. Oh yeah.
That was the worst match. The Dolphins ended up with the worst matchup at the end, for sure. Because all the other games were winnable.
Yeah.
For all the other AFC teams trying to get in. So that kind of stunk for them, but...
Yeah, and there was a dogfight of a game between the Titans and the Texans.
Oh, gosh. That was a great game.
That was super close. Obviously, the Texans, another team with nothing... They have nothing to play for. I think Austin even brought it up. They don't even have a draft pick this year. It goes to the Dolphins. So
yeah,
and they're still playing that hard.
And you know what's pretty incredible about the Texans is Deshaun Watson was the passing leader for the regular season this year. He was absolutely dominant in the quarterback position this year, even though, obviously the record doesn't show it. After they traded his one, Golden Glove receiver, it's pretty impressive. He is an amazing quarterback, and he's going to have an amazing career if he can do that. He's the passing leader after losing his one, his number one receiver, absolutely number one, clear as day. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is cool, and man, it almost feels like his talents are being wasted.
Absolutely.
At least up until this point, part of his career has been wasted in Texas because, they've had issues with their offensive line, and the reason why they don't have a draft pick this year in the first round is because they got Laramie Tunsil from the Dolphins to try and patch up that O-line, and they traded a lot of picks, a lot of capital to get him. They've had cap issues since they decided to sign Brock Osweiler to a lot of money a while back, and I think they've been trying to play catch-up in that department for a while because of that costly mistake. And then they obviously just cleaned house with a lot of bad moves from Bill O'Brien. But yeah, I totally agree, Thomas. Like, Deshaun Watson, he's the real deal, and he's the real deal even without DeAndre Hopkins. So.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him being like the Matthew Stafford of the AFC or of that generation. Matthew Stafford's really good, and he just played for a cruddy team that could never get pieces around him. And I think Deshaun Watson's might suffer that same fate. I think he could waste his entire career in Houston and not get too far in the playoffs.
Well, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think they would be in a much better place if they had some first round picks. Because they're getting a new head coach, and that a lot of the time can change. It can completely change a system and identity of a team. Hopefully, they hire someone good, but without having draft picks that following year, you're still working with the same player base for the most part. If they had some picks, I think hey, they could be dominant next year. We'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of Matt Stafford, there's kind of some headlines, some whispers floating around like, is Stafford going to stay in Detroit or are they going to move off of him? Like, do you think there's actually any real, chance that they actually bail on Matt Stafford in this offseason?
They could. Matthew Stafford's a sad story because, a lot of people kind of now underrate him because he's not playing as well as he had in years past. But just imagine you playing for that organization for so long, that will just wear you down. playing your best football over and over and over again and not making the playoffs or being one and done in it over and over and over and over again, I think Matthew Stafford would actually benefit from a fresh start somewhere else. Whether the Lions want to do that, and it might be good for the Lions too, to just be like, we're just kind of tired. Like, we need something new. Things have not been working. We like you. It's not because we don't think you're good. It's just not good for us. It's not good for you. I think it should be a mutual parting.
If I'm Matt Stafford, I'd want out because, yeah, it is a place to go and waste your career away. I mean, just ask Hall of Fame finalist, first ballot Calvin Johnson. Like, how Detroit can really put a damper on your career overall. But, oh, man, I'll tell you guys right now, if Matt Stafford really were on the market, I would have dreams about him coming to Denver. Like,
that would
be incredible.
That would be a good place for him to go. Honestly.
It's that would be. I think that's the best thing I could see happening to us in the offseason if that were a possibility. Personally, I don't actually think it will end up happening. As much as they might think about it, I really think Matt Stafford's too good, and even in Detroit, I mean, do you guys know off the top of your head where they're drafting? Are they?
They're 7, pick 7.
Yeah, I have the draft order in front of me.
Yeah, they're 7. I mean, you can get someone, but obviously you're not going to get the big name quarterback in this draft. No one is besides the Jaguars.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, but outside of Trevor Lawrence, everyone's a risk. Like, not a sure thing they're going to draft this year.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But besides that, coming back to just those AFC games, the Ravens put the beat down on the Bengals. I thought there's a chance the Bengals play up to the challenge. That did not happen.
Not at all.
The Ravens set an all-time rushing record, like 405 rushing yards on the Bengals. So they weren't having any of that. And then the Colts took care of business against the Jaguars. So
surprise.
Surprise. Here we are. Dolphins.
Honestly, at this point, if any team like really intended to lose is the Jaguars. Why would you have the number 1 pick? Well, I guess no. At this point, they were guaranteed it anyway, weren't they?
Guaranteed it no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but I mean that's how the AFC played out.
So let me ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we still, as far as our Super Bowl predictions that we made last week, I still think it could be Chiefs Saints. Are you guys still sticking with your prediction?
Yeah, for now, yeah.
All right.
Seahawks, Chiefs, I still feel good about it, but at this point, I think there's a lot of different things that I wouldn't be surprised that happens. Like, this is what I think is in my opinion, what I think is going to happen. But I think, the Bills, they look fantastic. They're the team right now in the AFC that looks like if they go against the Chiefs, they have a real shot taking them down. So I wouldn't be surprised about that. And then in the NFC, I think I'm even more unsure because, man, the Packers obviously look great. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. Right.
A quick
little tangent. I think he is.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. It's Aaron Rodgers. I don't see how he doesn't win it.
Yeah, he did a couple double staples into the seal this last week that he's the MVP.
But no, to answer your question, I'm still feeling pretty good about it. I think the Seahawks can do good and go through there. That's for my prediction. The Seahawks is the one that when I made it was kind of more of the, I guess, upset pick.
We just really need to see Russell Wilson kind of get hot again.
That's the only thing that makes me nervous is like they're kind of coming into the playoffs not at their peak in the season at all. Like
Yeah.
they really were hot earlier on, and I really would like them to kind of be hotter now going in, but we'll see if they can turn it on.
We'll see. We'll see. Okay, before we really get into playoffs, though, can we just talk about the draft for a minute?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Because I think it's really interesting, actually, what could happen in the draft, and it's some things we've kind of alluded to in the past, but just kind of going through it, starting from pick number 1. I think the Jaguars are going to take Trevor Lawrence. They'd be really, really dumb if they didn't.
That'd be crazy if they didn't take Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, we've seen it. Remember when Baker Mayfield got picked number 1 overall? That wasn't even that long ago by the Browns. And obviously it paid off. I mean, I can't remember who was supposed to be the number 1 pick overall that year.
That was the thing. There wasn't really a consensus number 1 that year.
Yeah, I think everyone liked everyone that was picked in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So this year would be way more shocking.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence didn't get first.
He will, though. He'll get first. He'll be a Jaguar. But pick number 2, right off the bat, New York Jets. They've said all season that Sam Darnold is their guy, and they've stuck to that gun.
They
But
also said Adam Gase is the future.
Adam Gase is gone.
Anything.
Adam Gase is gone. Okay.
Yeah.
And they've said big moves are going to be made in the offseason. That just came out this week. So, if you're the Jets, you know you're not going to get Trevor Lawrence. Are you going to take a quarterback, or are you going to keep Sam Darnold? And granted, isn't it the Jets that have like a lot of first-round picks? Let me see.
Yeah, I don't remember how many
They probably
Jets.
do.
I
They
know
have
the Dolphins
2.
with quite a
Well, do you
few
think
picks.
the bottom line is,
Yeah.
do you think they take a quarterback at 2?
They have the Seahawks pick, Thomas.
Yeah, that's right.
And to answer your question, Austin, at least if I'm the Jets, and I guess this is what I think they'll do as well, if you're not getting Trevor Lawrence, you shouldn't bail on Sam Darnold now. There's no one worth bailing on Sam for at this point.
Yeah.
So, and they have a lot of holes. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade down and get a bunch of draft picks. To me, that seems like the smart move. We'll see.
Well, here's the interesting thing: Real is number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if Justin Fields is still on the board, if the Jets don't take a quarterback with that 3 pick, I think you can see Tua getting the Josh Rosen treatment.
I'm so shocked you think that. I do not see that as a possibility. I still think Tua's the guy.
I agree.
I can see it happening.
No, because the Josh Rosen thing, like, he started the full season and sucked the full season. Tua started, how many games did Tua end up starting? Like 4 or 5? And he didn't suck. He didn't obviously have a blowout domination game, but in the situation with COVID, no preseason, all these factors, on top of just the fact they didn't suck, I don't think they would replace him yet. Maybe next year, when there's even, it'd probably be smarter to wait a year or 2 and see when there's actually a lot of prospects in the quarterback position. But
I would be so disappointed in the Dolphins if they go quarterback here. I mean, they're coming off of a good season, and they have a chance to make their team not good but great with how much draft capital they have. And
They
if
do.
And I think they would be really squandering it by not giving Tua weapons or they have a strong defense. I think they just continue to bolster that offense, give Tua every possibility to prove himself, and give him a season where he can really do it.
mm-hmm. And get 30 passing touchdowns.
Here's the thing. This is the reason why I think that could happen. Is because of the draft capital. Is because they have also the 18 pick, and they have already a lot of good pieces on defense. They just need to patch up the offense a little bit, and I think moving forward with that draft capital, I think Brian Flores should have a guy that he actually wants to build around. And so, I mean, you could even have a quarterback battle between the two, but might as well take a chance on you have an opportunity to not for not to have too bad of repercussions because you have the draft capital if you whiff on that 3 pick. Because, like you said, outside of Trevor Lawrence, it doesn't really matter. So you might as well just, I mean, is there a receiver that you'd rather have than Justin Fields? Is there an offensive lineman you'd rather have than Justin Fields? No. So might as well just get him because he's the best player available. He's the best player available at 3.
See, with the Dolphins, I think they're also a candidate to trade down, get someone who does want to pay up for Justin Fields and wants to make a move at quarterback, and then get their first-round pick for next year. And then come next year, if you're really disappointed in what you got with Tua, you're going into the draft with 2 first-round picks and a real shot to replace him if you want. That's what I would
do that because they already have the draft capital. They don't need more. They've already got it.
You can always get more. You can always build your future more.
You could. But you also got to think about what the quarterback prospects might be next year, and it might be a down quarterback year next draft. And so you just got to think about best player available when you're at that high. And Justin Fields is going to be the best player available that high.
Yeah, unless you want to just patch more things on your team and just fill more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For me, that's what I feel like the Dolphins need. They just need some patching here and there. They don't need to get a new quarterback and build a whole new team around it.
See, that's what I disagree. I think the patchwork is the quarterback play because they got average play from Tua and average play from Ryan Fitzpatrick. Imagine if they had somebody that could do what Ryan Fitzpatrick does and what Tua does at the same time.
They could. It's called Tua when he's not a rookie.
Yeah.
We can't do this again this week because we fundamentally disagree on Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. But I think that's the difference here. And then we got Atlanta at the 4 pick.
So this is one where I could see them taking if Justin Fields is available or some other quarterback. I think
if you're Miami, let them trade up 1 spot. Say we're gonna get another quarterback. Trade up 1 spot and give us that and another second rounder or something. Who cares?
I don't know if the Falcons would go for that. Moving up 1 spot.
If it means to them that they get their quarterback that they have circled on the draft board or not.
Well, they would just say that, obviously you actually don't want Justin Fields, so might as well just stay at 4 and keep our second-round pick.
Yeah, I think they're going to assume Dolphins don't want Justin Fields.
Sure enough.
They don't have a lot of leverage to pull a second-round pick out of the Falcons and moving down 1 spot. I don't think...
Give the Dolphins Calvin Ridley.
The Bears thing, but I don't see that.
Yeah.
I think the Falcons are a little bit smarter than that.
Well, do you guys think that the Falcons are drafting Matt Ryan's replacement in this draft?
Absolutely. Because he doesn't really have one right now. And, I can see Matt Ryan staying 1 more year and being the mentor to whoever they choose. And then, because Matt Ryan does not have that much time left in his career. So if they're going to do it, now's the time.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then we got the Bengals with the 5th pick, which, besides the Dolphins, I feel the best about where the Bengals are at because we know that their season, they had a rookie quarterback, they were rebuilding, and then he got injured on top of all of that. So assuming he comes back, he makes it back healthy, and he can kind of keep on where he left off, having such a high draft pick to help Joe Burrow out.
It's got to be offensive line. I don't know what else it could be.
If it's not an offensive lineman, I mean, you got to do something. Otherwise, Joe Burrow's going to die back there.
Yeah. Because they're fine at receiver, and defense scheme is almost as important as who you have over there. So, an offensive lineman is definitely the biggest need that they have, and I can see them taking a tackle.
Yeah. Now, about receiver, I do think they need to add some receivers to that room because, like you point out, mostly Austin, like AJ Green is not the AJ Green we know, and I think his time there is done.
Yeah, I don't think he's there next year.
And I don't know if they really have a standout wide receiver one with AJ Green out. They have some good receivers there, but I think they could definitely add some more receivers to that room.
Yeah.
The pick that apparently was worth tanking the game for, man. Philadelphia Eagles. Here we are at pick 6.
I just don't like. You keep Jalen Hurts as your starting quarterback.
I really hope, man. I mean,
yeah, there's no reason to move. Oklahoma quarterbacks have been working.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So far,
man. I don't know what they'll do here. I mean, I know there's lots of good defensive players projected to go in the top 10. Some linebackers, positions in that situation. So I don't really know what the Eagles do here. I feel like they have quite a few places that could be improved. I think overall as a roster, they're kind of down right now, to be honest.
Yeah, they have a lot of holes.
Yeah. Lots of places they could go here. Number 7, Detroit Lions.
So I think here's the thing: if they are going to, if Matt Stafford is leaving the city, this is when they would do it. They would get a replacement quarterback for him now. Whether they trade up to get something better in, like a Justin Fields in the draft, or they just he's available at pick 7. That's the only way I can see Matt Stafford leaving is something out of the draft.
Yeah. I don't see that, like a free agent's not going to replace him. I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so.
I don't even know who would even be available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. No.
I don't even think Dak. I honestly think he gets to be signed out. But yeah. But even then, like, okay, so we're assuming 2 quarterbacks have been taken because there's no way Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields make it this far down to 7. So now we're left
right?
with like Zach Wilson, Kyle Trask, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
That's literally, I could not name another quarterback. Yeah, I could not name another quarterback in college football from those 3.
Yeah. I mean, I think those 5 go first. And I mean, there's a lot of quarterback needy teams, and more than I thought, actually.
Yeah.
And, a lot of teams down here might not get them. Like Denver, Carolina might be in.
I don't know. Carolina.
I was hot on Teddy Bridgewater earlier this season. He was looking good, but he really fell off. Really bad. And I could definitely see Carolina trying to get their guy. So if we're talking about someone trading up to the 3 pick, the Carolina Panthers, just like you guys said, like, who's going to be left at 8 that's going to be a difference maker for your franchise? Not a lot of names, but 3, you have a real shot. So that would be one I would be looking at if you're trying to make that move.
I can see that argument for Carolina doing that. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
They'll either do that or get something on the defense because their defense struggled quite a bit this season. So
yeah, it did.
Yeah, I've heard though that they do want to get someone else. I think they do want to move off of Teddy.
Yeah,
so.
Which is weird because Teddy's. When I think Teddy Bridgewater, I definitely think, or at least I have for the last few years, I've always thought, yeah, he should be a starting quarterback. But yeah, after the second half of this season, it's like, but can you blame it all on him because he didn't have a lot of CMC was basically out the whole season.
We knew the Panthers roster wasn't exactly.
Yeah.
Take away CMC, all of a sudden that roster looks pretty
pretty bad.
So
it's mediocre at best.
It's just right on that line where they're gonna have to blame someone, and I think you're right. It wasn't. Teddy could definitely have done better with more weapons, but I don't know if that argument will hold water when they're deciding their future.
Especially because they've already fired Ron Rivera and they just hired Matt Rule, so you got to go get his guy. Now it's like, okay, Teddy Bridgewater was just a mercenary. He's a veteran. He's been around the league for a few years. So now it's like, okay, we're gonna get you your guy now. We are in a position to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and so that I could see that happening.
Yeah. But then moving on to the Broncos at the 9th pick, dude. I just, in my opinion, the Broncos are going to get absolutely nowhere with Drew Lock.
Yeah, no, you're preaching to the choir. I'm off of Drew Lock as our future train, but I can tell you from, I've been back in Denver over Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I listen to a lot of sports radio there, and it's pretty divided. It's like, it's not consensus that he's not the guy. It's definitely not consensus that he is the guy. Everyone's kind of not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm far to the side of I don't think he is the guy. I don't think he is a quarterback that's ever going to elevate us above the Kansas City Chiefs, ever. And which is what we're going for here, or trying to freaking get a wild card. But at the 9th pick, we're not getting a quarterback. I don't think this is the draft for the Broncos to try and get that quarterback, to be honest. If anything, we'll probably look to trades, free agency, if there is anything, although that's pretty dry.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, man, because, like, are the Broncos ever going to get lower than 9?
It's
right?
possible, absolutely possible.
It's possible, but I mean, like, they seem to like never get that low. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the lowest I've seen them.
I think the lowest we got was, I think we were fifth or sixth when we took Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, Bradley
a couple
Chubb.
years ago.
Okay. So,
yeah. That's the problem. We're
was
never
2 years ago.
bad enough. We're always
Yeah.
just a little bit too good to get the best picks.
Can you see the
I
Broncos?
see them getting Zach Wilson just because of close geographically to Utah.
Yeah.
They might like him. I can see them taking him.
But
Possible.
would they have to trade up for Zach Wilson? He might go like third or fourth quarterback.
He could. It's possible. Yeah. Carolina could take him. Detroit could take him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there's other quarterbacks. I don't know.
Just taking the temperature in Denver. My expectation is I think they're going to give Drew another year if they can't find anyone. Like, I think they'll try and sign a veteran in the offseason.
Yeah.
And depending on who it is, he'll either be the backup to Drew Lock, or if there is a Matt Stafford sweepstakes, then I hope and I believe that the Denver Broncos would go hard into something like that. But besides that, I think most anyone else who's going to be available, he'll be a backup, and then if things get bad enough, he'll go in, and then we'll revisit this in the 2022 draft.
I'm not gonna lie though, I don't know why, but when you say Matt Stafford to the Broncos, like that sounds really good to me.
Oh, it feels good to me too.
feels nice.
Besides that, to be honest, the Broncos roster overall is pretty solid, actually. Like, we have a pretty dang good defense, and this was without Von Miller.
Yeah.
We have tons of great receivers. Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon are more than capable of handling the backfield.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's not that much you can change besides Drew Lock.
Well, the offensive line, we definitely could use a right guard.
Yeah. That's been your problem like all season too, hasn't it?
The offensive line's been a problem for a long time, but yeah, the right side of the offensive line in particular.
It's hard to get 5 good offensive linemen.
Very hard. Very hard.
It is hard. But anyway,
let's just go to number 10.
We'll go number 10.
Let's wrap it up at number 10.
We'll wrap it up with number 10. I mean, to be honest
Cowboys.
with you guys, I have no idea who they're going to take, but it's probably going to be some guy from Boise State that I've never heard of. So, like, at 10, I mean, they're not going to get a quarterback. They're signing Dak.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
That would be stupid to go for a quarterback at this point.
They just paid Zeke. They got a plethora of wide receivers. They're getting this real starting tight end back. I'm gonna say line, O-line.
You don't think they'll take anything for defense?
No, I mean they might take a defensive back, maybe. but they just paid Jalen Hurts. They really like Leighton Vander Esch. Sean Lee might retire, he might stay, but it doesn't really make a difference because he plays every other game. And the real need is now Tyron Smith is unreliable. Travis Frederick retired. Zach Martin's their only good lineman, and their backups have sucked. I was watching that Giants game, Sunday, and I was like, oh my, the line sucks. I don't blame Zeke or Tony Pollard or Andy Dalton. I mean, I do blame them a little bit, but I mean, just watching the line play, I was paying attention to that the most during that game. It's like, this is terrible. They can't block anybody. They don't know their assignments.
I feel like you got to go O-line play. I mean, the Dallas offensive way is predicated on having a really solid offensive line.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I think they probably get some O-linemen from the SEC or something. That's probably the move that they make. I'd put money on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll see when the draft comes. I'm sure we'll talk about the draft a lot more in the weeks to come, but
yeah.
Guys,
I like it.
It's playoff time.
It's playoff time.
But no more talking about those stupid teams that didn't make it and aren't those top 10 drafts. They all suck. We're talking about the good teams now.
All right, so Thomas likes to pat himself on the back, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for my team in the early when we had a dark horse entering the playoffs. Mine's the only one that made it.
Yep.
The Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
So I'm going to – they did it. They made it. And for the first time in how many years, they made the playoffs. And they're going to
clap.
The Steelers.
They squeezed past that Steelers second team, making it into the playoffs.
And then they get to play the Steelers again.
Yeah. It's going to be a different game.
I know. What happened? We beat them, yeah. What the heck? But, I don't think they beat the Steelers. The Steelers probably beat them to a pulp. But it's possible. This is a long time ago, like 10 years ago. The Cowboys beat the Eagles back-to-back, Week 17, and then the Wildcard. So, I mean, it's possible to happen. But I mean, it's a different situation because the Steelers didn't play their best players. So, yeah, I think it'll be a rout. But it was cool. It's cool that they made the playoffs. I think Browns fans should be ecstatic just for that. And they may throw a parade.
They ought to. What's our? I want to get your guys' temperatures right now on the Steelers. Once the undefeated team in the league, the last one to be so, and then dropped quite a few games. Are they your team right now that's kind of not as good as their record, probably not making it, or do you guys think these Steelers are a legit threat to take the whole AFC?
Well, the good news for the Steelers is that they play the Browns first, and they get their first playoff win right off the bat.
Well, I'm not as sold as you are that they don't have a chance. I think it'd be a good game.
The Browns will have a chance, but I'm pretty confident the Steelers will win.
Well, you got to keep in.
They're there, but I mean, they get to play a team that they're familiar with, and yeah, they might sleepwalk. The reason they'd lose is they might sleepwalk into it and they're like, we lost by 2, just playing our backups. We got this, and not try. And we've seen that happen. But yeah, but looking at all the other teams, I'm like, Chiefs could easily beat them. Bills could easily beat them. Titans lost to them, kind of dumb. They probably are hungry for blood if they ever played. Ravens will probably beat them. Colts was a good game. They played 2 weeks ago. That's it. That one's a coin flip. I mean, they're not a surefire to beat anybody on the AFC side, and that shouldn't leave you confident at all.
It's not surefire, but can you concede? Is this a team that is capable in themselves to beat a Bills team or a Chiefs team?
Yeah, I would say capable. Capable, if that's the word we're using. Yeah.
I guess at this point, I also think so. I think they would have a better shot against the Bills only because I see their defense being able to frustrate Josh Allen more so than they're going to be able to get to Patrick Mahomes and just get him off his game. That's the only difference I see is that defense matching up there.
So
Well,
you've switched your opinion? Because a couple weeks ago you were saying the Steelers had the best chance of beating the Chiefs in the playoffs.
No, I'm saying I still think the Steelers of the other teams have the best chance, but I'm saying if you're the Steelers and you can go up against the Chiefs or the Bills, I'd rather go up against the Bills if I'm the Steelers. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Good point. I like it.
Yeah.
What say you, Thomas?
well, as far as yeah, I kind of agree with Parker where among all the teams, the Steelers are the team that's going to frustrate Bills or Chiefs the most. And I think the big thing too you got to remember is as far as coaching goes, Steelers, Bills, and Chiefs have the three best coaches in the AFC as well. In the AFC playoff picture. And yeah, I think Mike Tomlin can give the Bills offense a hard time where it's hard for anyone to give Andy Reid and the Chiefs a hard time. It's definitely a challenge. So yeah, I kind of just agree.
Going off on a tangent there, you mentioned that the Chiefs, Bills, and Steelers are the best coach in the AFC. As far as Coach of the Year goes, a lot of people are talking Brian Flores and talking Kevin Stefanski, but in my opinion, it's Sean McDermott turning that Bills team around like crazy and having Josh Allen realize his potential this season and him being better than most scouts and draft predictors could have even imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is the best Bills team since the early '90s. I think to me, I think he's the Coach of the Year. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I definitely can see that. But at the same time, the Bills were in the playoffs last year. I mean, they kind of barely got in last year, whereas this year they're kind of viewed as a dominant team. But yeah, at the same time, that's still Sean McDermott building this team up and always kind of heading in an upward trajectory. So, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone more deserving, like you said, Austin. But
I have a hard time personally considering Brian Flores a contender just with the decisions he's made in the quarterback position and bouncing in between Tua and Fitzpatrick. I just think that's bad coaching. I think those were terrible decisions, and you're really, hurting the morale of your team and your players. So, it bothers me that he's in the conversation. He is, and he could win it, but I don't think so. So yeah, I think Sean McDermott is definitely worthy for what he's done, especially if you encompass the last 2 years and look at it, in that light for sure. And that's the thing. In the end, even with the Bills, barely making into the playoffs last year, it's a completely different team this year, and it has been the whole season, and that's the big thing.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's the point I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So tangent. I just wanted to take your guys' temperature and see if you had to even put a thought to it or not. But yeah,
I guess I'm gonna go. We'll just kind of go backwards in order of when these games are happening since we started Steelers Browns, which I think is Sunday night. All right, so you pat yourself in the back. I'm going to give myself a quick pat, not as good as yours, but I know early in the season you guys were all about the Buccaneers taking that division. And I said, hold up, guys. Like, these Saints are not done. And it turns out that, the Saints ended up taking that division pretty handedly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
6-0 in the division.
But, I mean, Saints-Bears, I'm going to go ahead and say that, in my opinion, this is the most no-brainer pick of Wildcard weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you guys disagree because there are some other games that could appear one-sided, but I think the Saints really take care of business against the Bears here. I don't see the Bears having much of a shot in this contest.
Yeah, the Saints are hot. They barely beat the Bears in Chicago, and the Chicago Bears are down. I mean, they've won 3 in a row up until they lost to the Packers. And yeah, I think the Bears have a chance, but the Saints are just too hot right now for me to go against the grain on that. I think this one could have the highest point differential between of all the games.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
The Saints, honestly, I'm really glad I have them in my Super Bowl prediction because that team is full of so many people that are doing outstanding this season. Yeah, I agree. They're gonna. I think they'll probably destroy the Bears.
And then on the opposite end, off the top of my head, if I'm gonna pick one game to watch, it might just be Ravens at Titans, because I think that could be a really, really good game. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah. I mean, two bruising offenses, and I like the Ravens in that game. I think
they want some revenge from last postseason.
Yeah, they're gonna want revenge, and the Titans' defense has gone in a downward trajectory, whereas I think the Ravens' defense has been pretty much the same. They haven't dipped or gone up. They're familiar with Derrick Henry, and they're preparing for him, and they're gonna dare Ryan Tannehill to beat him. And the same can be said for the Titans. They're like, all right, Lamar, throw the ball, running back, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think the Titans defense has the talent to back up any trash talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Ravens defense, Ryan Tannehill is a capable quarterback, I think the Ravens defense has more to say to be able to stop Ryan Tannehill than the Titans do against Lamar Jackson throwing the ball on them.
I agree that the Ravens defense has they're as a unit more capable, but I think that the Ravens running back room is more easily stopped than Derrick Henry is stopped in a game.
I guarantee you that everyone in that defense has a picture of Derrick Henry in their locker, and all they do is thinking about tackling.
Man, I hope they all did last postseason too, but that did not stop Derrick Henry last year from running over.
They weren't prepared. Derrick Henry did just all of a sudden just kind of like popped out of the ground postseason. They weren't prepared. He was
hot going into postseason last year. It's not like he only had a good postseason. He was having a phenomenal career, a phenomenal season last year. So
it started around like week 10 after they benched Mariota and put in Tannehill. He wasn't running like that in September and October last year.
That's true.
Didn't Derrick Henry in that game versus the Ravens? He had like 180 yards.
He dominated.
Yeah, he did.
The Ravens.
But that's all they're thinking about.
Yeah.
Is tackling Derrick Henry.
Dude,
let that happen again.
All their pads and tackle equipment on the field, they've like posted his face on all that equipment.
If I was the coach, that's what I'd have done. If I was a defensive coordinator, I'd be like, this is the guy.
Yeah, like put his picture up in the locker room. Like that's it. 'Cause I agree. Look, given the situation where both defenses managed to shut the other team's run game down, I give the edge to the Ravens.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And that's really the goal of every defense this year. If you can stop Derrick Henry, you win. And if you can't stop him, you lose. So that's going to be the game, is going to be the Ravens defense versus the Titans offense.
Man, I'm just thinking about the Derrick Henry stiff arm memes.
Earl Thomas isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude, yeah.
Who is it? He's stiff armed tons of people this year, but man, I can't even. What's the corner's name?
Dude, I can never remember.
Josh Norman on the
Josh,
field?
yes.
Josh Norman's stiff arm was.
Yeah.
Oh, mercy. Oh, my God, that was so good. That's amazing. But look, one thing I will say about the Ravens is they they're coming in 11-5, but they seem to be off the radar just because Lamar Jackson isn't having an MVP season this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely are I think they have a chip on their shoulder because everyone seems to kind of forgotten about them to some degree. So
past few games, they're firing all cylinders. And I heard that they have the highest point differential in
Yeah.
the league. So, they're prime. To me, it's it's on defenses, and I think the Titans' defense is just not good enough. Whereas I think if the Ravens' defense just focuses on their nemesis, I think they can win. It'll be a close one. I don't think it'll be a blowout. It'll be close.
So I'm going to ask you real quick. Like, it seems to me of any of these wild card teams in the AFC, you seem to be the highest on the Ravens to actually have a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we kind of do that real quick? I don't know if we want to do it after we've covered the games, but I think we should kind of do the same exercise we did with our kind of like sleeper dark horse team that we think, is in the lower end of the spectrum that could do well in the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe we can go through the picks this week and then kind of go back and each pick that sort of team.
I want to do that for sure.
Yeah,
okay.
I need some time to pick my dark horse.
Yeah, I need to, let's talk about the games, and then I can make a decision after we've talked about them.
All right, now coming up, we got Buccaneers, the Washington football team. This was one of those games when I was saying the Saints and Bears was going to be the most boring. I thought about this one, but in all honesty, I think this one has a chance to. I don't think it's going to be necessarily an ugly football game. The only thing that can make it really one-sided is just the fact that Tom Brady is looking pretty good heading into the postseason, and if he just has himself a game, I don't see Washington being able to keep up. But if you're Washington, man, you're just hoping to keep this a low-scoring kind of slugfest sort of game. I think I don't see how they win a shootout.
Well, I think it comes down to the Washington football team's defensive front is good, and same thing. If they can put enough pressure on Tom Brady, that's probably the only way they win. And they're capable.
I would like Washington more if they looked better against a sorry Eagles team.
Yeah.
If they went in that game and just crushed them, I'd feel more confident. But I mean, they're playing for a spot, and the Eagles are like, maybe we want to win, maybe we don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they only beat them by 6.
It's very true.
I'd be more high if they absolutely just crush the Eagles. But I like the Bucs in this game. It could be close because Washington can sometimes just turn it on out of nowhere, and but they don't score a lot of points, and that's what worries me. Is even when they're playing really well, they don't pile on points.
Mm-hmm.
They win 20-14 or 18-12 or something like that. That's usually how they win, and I don't think that's how you can win against the Bucs unless they completely shut down Tom Brady, which is possible. But I would give it a 60-40 chance to the Bucs.
Yeah, if you're Washington, you gotta be keeping Tom Brady off the field, dominating time of possession. I mean, I feel like that's just your ingredients to get a win in this game, which, I mean, I could see it happening. We've seen the Buccaneers, they've had a couple times where they've kind of fallen apart in games, and really everything just seems to not work. So we know that's definitely in the realm of possibilities if the Washington football team can kind of press the right buttons on defense. But yeah, I think at this point with the momentum here, I would be leaning Bucs. And I kind of like what you 60-40. I'm kind of around that sort of percentage as well, because it's not a slam dunk in my mind at all, but I would lean Bucs.
Yeah.
I agree.
How about you, Thomas?
Yeah, I agree. Maybe 65-35. I think, here's the thing. I think the game will be decided probably by the end of the first quarter. And
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I see what you mean.
If Tom Brady, if the Bucs are just scoring points and have an easy time, it's over.
If Tom Brady comes out to a hot start, I think you're right.
Yeah. In that case.
Yeah, because I just feel like it's hard for any team, but especially the Washington football team. If they're down by a considerable amount early on in the game, that offense I don't think is capable of overcoming large deficits. It's as simple as that.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
All right, and then we got the Rams at Seahawks. Now, Sean McVay he's decided, you know what, it's postseason. I reveal nothing. He says they will not announce the starting quarterback at any point this week. They will not say who it will be.
Okay.
So it sounds, from what I've heard from beat reporters and stuff, that Jared Goff's not trending in the right direction to be playing. It's not super optimistic that he'll be able to suit up, but it's going to be a game time, not decision, because Sean McVay, I'm sure, will know, but the rest of the football world won't know until kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess if we got to talk to Thomas, you're the Seahawk fan. Like, I got to expect you would rather play Jared Goff's back up than Jared Goff, right?
I don't know. Honestly,
I like that. Actually.
The back off. When you say that, is there a G in there? Is it back off or just back off?
It's back Jared Goff in his back off.
Just like a little guy on his, on his back.
Yeah. Go in there, back off. Go get him.
No, so I don't know what I'd rather have. I mean, a third string or a second string quarterback is always something to look forward to playing against in the playoffs. But also playing against Jared Goff with a broken thumb, I don't think that would be too bad either. So either way, in the quarterback matchup, I'm feeling pretty good about it. But really, that's not where the outcome of this game is going to come from. It's not the quarterback matchup. It's what it's always is always has been this season when the Seahawks and the Rams play against each other. It's the Rams secondary shutting off our receivers. Aaron Donald obviously always plays a part, is always a threat, will always add pressure. But at this point, Russell Wilson plays under pressure so much and so well. That's not what I'm worried about. It's really whether Jalen Ramsey is going to be able to shut off DK Metcalf again like he did their first matchup this year, or if DK Metcalf is still going to get a couple deep balls, a touchdown or two. It's definitely same thing. The game is going to be decided between the Seahawks offense and the Rams defense, and especially the Rams secondary and the Seahawks receiving core. I think, with our running game being pretty healthy at this point, I think we should win just because we're going to have more time of possession and probably score more points than a pretty weak, an even weaker Rams offense. The thing that scared me this last week when we played them, though, is...
at 49ers?
Oh, yeah, sorry. We played them 2 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah.
In week 16. The thing that scared me was the Rams were getting third down conversions, every time. And usually that's not a major struggle for the Seahawks, but, I mean, especially Cooper Kupp is just the third down guy. Goff always throws to Kupp on third down, and 90% of the time they're going to get a new set of downs. But same thing, we got a second string quarterback, probably doesn't have the same connection that Goff and Kupp have had. I don't know. I think the game is definitely in the Seahawks' favor. But I think more than any team and any football fan base, that doesn't mean that much for Seahawks because it's still going to be a close game. It's still going to come down to who has the ball the last 2 minutes. I don't know, but my greatest hope is just boom, Russell's back on fire like he should be. He's cooking, and the offense is just how it was, first half of the season. If we can get that back, I think we'll go to the Super Bowl. Absolutely, yeah. We'll go to the Super Bowl if our offense can do what it was doing the first 6 games of the season. We'll see though.
If your offense somehow goes nuclear like they were, then yeah, that's what I'm hoping for as far as my prediction being
Yeah.
right. But yeah, I think you're right. This game it's Russell Wilson and company versus that tough defense, and then it's the Rams running game
Hmm.
against the Seattle's
Absolutely.
more hit or miss defense. So
Yeah.
it's not
Hey, they're not hit or miss lately, man. Lately, they're
lately.
good.
Lately,
No.
they are good lately. And I hope that continues because they're going to need their defense to step up if Russell Wilson doesn't
Absolutely.
go
Absolutely.
super hot.
I mean, that's the thing. At some point, every Seahawks game, we're totally relying on the defense, one way or another. Luckily, it's gone in our favor mostly lately, but
But to round off what I'm saying, Jared Goff being gone, of all teams, in my opinion, that's not as huge a loss as it is for some other teams.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
only say that because I think Jared Goff is super overrated, which I do, but also the fact that this Rams team wants to run the ball. They've always wanted to run the ball throughout the season, and they're very capable of running the ball in most situations. So that's the real thing you got to focus on if you're the Seahawks.
This division game is like one of the true division games where I feel like it's a true chess match between the two teams. Like it's going to be also Pete Carroll versus Sean McVay. They know each other so well,
Hmm.
and uh, it's going to be one of those games because there's some division. It always sucks to play your division rival in a playoff game because it's like it's not just about the talent too. It's about like all their other players' quirks, their tells, the plays they like to run. So it's that's to me the X factor too is just it's going to be a mind game as well. It's one of those true division rival games.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's round it off with the Colts versus Bills. This one is, I think, could be a really good game. I guess this one I can see a lot of different outcomes coming out of this game. It could be, the Bills trample the Colts. It could be a tight game, or the Colts defense could really play up and it could be Colts actually having the day. I could see lots of things happening. I do obviously think it's more like the Bills, as hot as they've been, coming off of just really whooping the Dolphins, which have been one of the scarier defenses in the year. I don't think they're going to have too many problems against the Colts defense, and I don't see Old Man Rivers keeping up with Josh Allen when he's firing on all cylinders. So I'd be leaning Bills here.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
Bills as well.
I think Bills win, but especially after the Seahawks Giants game this year, any defense on any given day can just like figure an offense out. And I think same thing. That game, if the Colts are going to win, it's going to be because somehow the Colts defense figures out the Bills offense and just shuts them down almost entirely.
Now, I do think that playoff version Josh Allen is kind of one of the storylines to watch. Like, we don't 100% know what we're getting here because they were in the playoffs last year briefly, but we haven't seen Josh Allen since he's really elevated his gameplay in any situation like this. So,
Yeah.
I mean, playoffs, it's like they say, once you're in the playoffs, it's a reset. Like, everything's
Absolutely.
new
Yeah.
in the playoffs. So it's definitely possible that the Bills could crumble. Josh Allen could look off and they drop this game. I would not be shocked. I don't. Yeah.
The Colts are a good test for them. I feel like they're kind of like the first section of a test where it's multiple choice. It's a little bit easier because you have some of the answers, but it's still kind of tough. I think like the Colts are a good, solid team that don't have a ton of holes, that can put pressure on the quarterback, and so I think this will really be like a first, test for Josh Allen and see like what his mettle is, and because I mean like if it comes to a duel with him against Philip Rivers, I'd give the edge to Josh Allen, but Philip Rivers has a lot of playoff experience, so I think that it's an interesting matchup, but I like the Bills. just based off seeing the regular season. But like you said, it's a complete reset. So we'll see. We'll see.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got probably like 10 more minutes in the podcast, but I do want to kind of, I think it's a little bit more set in stone, black and white on matchups and which teams, especially wild card round, win or lose. But I have a team in mind that I think is going to, go a lot further than people expect. But I want to see if you guys do too.
Yeah. So we're looking at wild card teams here that we think could go far.
Yeah.
Well, I mean
does the
wild
Washington
card is
football
like
team count?
I would say because I'm like the Ravens. I don't consider a dark horse, and I don't consider the Bucks either. Like I wouldn't consider people aren't expecting them to not win a playoff game.
Sure.
So I would say just anyone that people are like, I don't see them getting out the first round.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have your teams?
Yeah.
You guys go ahead.
All right. I can go first since this is my question.
You go, Thomas. Yeah, you go.
So, and that's the thing. I think we got to remember these teams are all good. They made it to the playoffs. I'm looking at it more as a team that kind of what Austin said. I'll just give you my team. I think the Bucks, obviously they're probably going to win the first game, but I think they win multiple. I think there's a definite chance they could even go to the NFC Championship, just solely based on the fact, Tom Brady's pretty hot right now. That team overall probably has the most playoff experience, especially the Buccaneers defense. There's so many guys on that team that have been in the playoffs before that are Super Bowl champions. I mean, I guess Tom Brady adds on like so many playoff games and stuff. But, of all the teams, that team to me, if any wild card team is going to go to the top, it would be the Bucks, just because of the talent that's on that team, how hot they've been the last few weeks. I think really their only weak point is Bruce Arians, their coach, and I just hate that guy. But that's the one thing. Do I think they win the Super Bowl? Probably not, but I definitely think they could go to the NFC Championship, possibly the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think the Bucks are the most dominant wild card team in the playoffs.
Nice. I'm gonna go with, and like you, I'm a team that could surpass expectations, and this might appear to contradict what I've said, but I'll explain. And I think the Browns could be that team. Now, I think the Browns are built really well for the playoffs. Their foundation's on two really, really good running backs. Each one of them could be, a 3-down back anywhere else. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And with both of them, it's super hard to stop the Browns' running game. They have a defense that's capable. It's not like the best team in the league, but it's not the worst either. They can have good games against good opponents. And I think they actually have a decent matchup with the Steelers, because while the Steelers defense could shut down Baker Mayfield, if the run game really does go well, then they could stay in that game and get past other opponents too. So again, Browns are one of those teams where if they find themselves in the shootout, they're not going to be in the position they want. But that being said, of all the teams that kind of are predicated on the run, especially in their division, like the Titans who want to get Derrick Henry going, something tells me I want Baker in the shootout a little bit more even than I want Tannehill. And I don't know, and they're comparable. It's not like I really favor one over the other, but Baker is kind of the quarterback who, he's got the moxie, he's got the swag. He feels like he's great in the shootout. He wants to be in a shootout. Whether he's the best at it or not, I don't know. But I think all around the Browns could surprise.
I dig it. I suppose this pick would count. I'd want to pick the Browns, but just to ride with them since I picked them early. But since you picked them, another team that I really like, and just because it's not obvious that they'll win their game, I think this will count. The Baltimore Ravens, I think, can really make a run. They're hot. They're coming into the playoffs hot. They're firing on cylinders. Lamar Jackson has a chip on his shoulder. And I think as long as someone knocks off the Chiefs before they get to play them, I think they could win. I think they could be anybody but the Chiefs. And so if like the Bills take care of the Chiefs, or I don't know if they couldn't play, but if the Steelers did or whoever knocked them off, and they didn't have to play them, I think they could beat the Bills or the Steelers in a playoff game, or anybody else that's in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Baltimore Ravens. I think they can make it to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Ravens of all the teams have almost the most options, especially offensively, of how they want to go about the game. They have the most like flexibility in play style, which I think in playoffs helps a ton.
It'll be really interesting if we get to see a Ravens-Bills matchup in the playoffs, and we can see our Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen's little rivalry head-to-head. That'd be fun.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Well, cool. All right.
I like it.
Everyone that's still listening, thank you for going this far into the podcast. We just want to say, once again, thanks for the support we've had. We've really appreciated the views we've gotten, the feedback we have, and yeah, we're just glad you guys are sticking here with us, and we hope you share with your friends. You know, help us with the algorithms in any way. Comment, like, subscribe, hit notifications. All that stuff helps. Yeah, we're looking forward to continuing to bring the content throughout the playoffs, and we're still scheming on how we can maintain somewhat of an NFL podcast throughout the offseason. We're having a blast doing it. We're having a blast knowing people are coming back every week to listen to it. So yeah, thank you guys. You're awesome. Have a good week.
Later.